Hello and welcome to the Farming Week, the podcast from Agriland that keeps you up to date with all the latest in Irish agriculture. I'm Charles O'Donnell and I'm joined by Louise Hickey and Rubina Freiberg. Well, obviously the talk of the town at the moment is Budget 2025, and that's where we'll start today. The budget was delivered this week by Minister for Finance Jack Chambers and Minister for Public Expenditure Paschal Donohoe, and there were several important areas covered that affect farmers. Here's Minister Chambers talking about agriculture and farmers.
Agriculture and the agri-food sector is of vital importance in our economy. The sector is embedded in our communities and wider society. Irish farmers play an important role in providing high-quality food domestically and for export, and are highly regarded for quality produce and farming methods.
That was Minister for Finance Jack Chambers there. But what concrete measures does the budget hold for farmers? Well, Rubina, can you take us through the main scheme funding areas for the Department of Agriculture?
Absolutely, Charles. So funding worth over €2 billion has been allocated to the Department of Agriculture, Food and Marine in Budget 2025. That's an additional €158 million, including €85 million in new measures for farmers, secured by Minister for Agriculture, Food and Marine, Charlie McConalogue. So let's take a look at the highlights in Budget 2025 and what it will change for farmers' pockets next year. So the tillage sector will see €100 per hectare support payment for farmers that planted tillage and field-grown food crops for harvest this year, as declared on their 2024 Basic Income Support for Sustainability BIS application. The suckler, dairy, beef and sheep sectors, however, will also see a payment boost next year. An additional €25 per calf will be available under the National Beef Welfare Scheme. This increases the payment per calf to €75 and brings the total payment per cow and calf next year to €225. Now, the payment per eligible calf has also been doubled from €20 to €40 under the Dairy Beef Welfare Scheme. An increase in scheme payments has also been confirmed for the sheep sector, with an additional €5 per ewe under the National Sheep Welfare Scheme, and this brings the current rate to €13 per ewe. Now, when combined with the €12 per ewe available under the Sheep Improvement Scheme, sheep farmers will receive €25 per ewe next year. Now, in terms of when these higher scheme payment rates will be available to farmers, Minister McConalogue confirmed to Agriland that farmers will be able to avail of all of these higher payments once the schemes reopen next year. And in the speech delivered by Minister Donohoe, as you referenced, Charles, he also said that some €143 million of carbon tax funding will be provided to the Department of Agriculture, Food and Marine next year. The Minister said that this funding will continue to support farmers as they work to improve biodiversity, climate, air and water quality outcomes. Now, this funding allocation comes as the carbon tax will increase by €7.50 per tonne, bringing the total carbon tax revenue available for investment to €951 million. Minister McConalogue also announced that €5 million will be allocated to a Forgotten Farmer scheme, which is to open next year, as well as €10 million in additional measures for animal health, including targeted advice for farmers, as well as bovine viral diarrhea, BVD, and infectious bovine rhinotracheitis, IBR. Now, in addition to the 2025 budget allocation of over €2 billion, the Department of Agriculture, Food and Marine will also be administrating over €1.2 billion of EU funding, including for eco-schemes and BIS payments to farmers. Now, Charles, that's only some of the highlights in Budget 2025, and of course, all the details of what has been announced are available on Agriland.ie.
Thanks, Rubina. And moving away from the funding measures and the schemes, there were also important announcements concerning taxation that would be relevant to farmers. Louise, can you explain more on those?
Yes, Charles. So as Rubina discussed, the expenditure strategy there, it proves to be quite a large package given for spending in 2025. The budget's seen the announcement of a number of extensions made for agricultural tax reliefs, which are due to expire at the end of the year. Extensions were granted for general stock relief, and one thing that some people may have been watching out for was the extension of stock relief for young trained farmers, which has been granted. And then the extension was also granted for stock relief for registered farm partnerships. The budget also seen the scope broadened for qualifying farm safety equipment types that can benefit from tax relief. A dedicated budget of €2.5 million has been set aside for this area. The scheme will be extended to include fixed sheep handling units, cattle crushes and races, calving gates, farmyard floodlights, livestock monitors, and sliding or rolling doors. Amendments were made to both the young trained farmer stamp duty relief and the stamp duty relief which applies to farmers who lease land. The relief for young trained farmers will be revised so that it will be available where it is claimed by an individual farmer who carries on the farm business through a company. The leasing relief will be amended to also encompass farmers who have chosen to incorporate their business. In terms of agricultural relief, Minister for Finance Jack Chambers said that he recognised that land has increased in value above inflation, and he said it is difficult for genuine farmers to purchase the land they need for farming. To address this and concerns that agricultural relief is being used as part of tax planning strategies by wealthy individuals, he said that he would extend the 6-year active farmer test to the person who provides the gift or inheritance. This measure supports current farmers and the next generation. Budget 2025 has also seen changes for the flat rate scheme rate, which will be increased from the current 4.8% to 5.1% from January 1st, 2025. The flat rate addition is the amount that unregistered farmers add to their price when supplying agricultural produce or agricultural services to a VAT registered business. Previously in Budget 2023, the government cut the flat rate addition from 5.5% to 5% from January 1st, 2023. Then in Budget 2024, it was reduced from 5% to 4.8% from January 1st, 2024.
And we can't move on, Louise, without mentioning the controversial Residential Zoned Land Tax, or RZLT. Active farmers were promised a solution to keep them out of the scope of the tax. Can they be reassured on that now?
Yes, Charles. So we knew from last week that the issue of RZLT would be addressed before this budget. The Taoiseach had told the Dáil that discussions were underway by the Minister for Finance with the objective of which to exclude people who are active farmers who did not either seek zoning or who have no intention of zoning and who want to continue on with the bona fide economic activity. So then during the budget announcement, Minister Chambers did address issues. Minister Chambers said that it is important that the measure does not unduly impact landowners who carry out genuine economic activity on their land. The Minister has provided the opportunity for landowners to avail of an exemption from local authorities in 2025 if they seek to have their land rezoned to reflect the activity they carry out on their land. This means that Minister Chambers will issue guidelines to local authorities indicating that they should consider and accommodate rezoning requests where landowners seek to continue undertaking existing economic activity. RZLT maps are based on the zonings included within city or county development plans and local area plans. However, neither of those plans provide an indication of current land use, so whether or not it is in agricultural use. Local authorities published annual draft RZLT maps on February 1st, 2024 that identify lands that fall within the scope of the tax as well as land which they propose to exclude from the previous year's annual final maps for 2025. Overall, there's around 52,000 hectares of land identified on the draft maps, while about 49,300 hectares of land is proposed to be retained on the maps.
Moving away from the budget now, and the Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, has published its State of the Environment Report 2024. According to the report, Ireland's overall climate assessment has been ranked as poor. Louise, what were some of the conclusions in the report for the agriculture sector specifically?
So the report, which is published every 4 years, breaks down environmental scores for each area, with air quality scoring the highest with a moderate status. The overall nature assessment was calculated as very poor, and other areas, including water quality and circular economy, also ranked poor. In terms of agriculture then, the report shows that the sector is the largest contributor to greenhouse gas emissions, accounting for 37.8%. This excludes the land use change and forestry area. EPA projections also show that agriculture and transport emissions form the majority of effort-sharing regulation, with projections making up about 80% by combining the two sectors. The EPA stated that significant emissions reductions are needed within agriculture, along with innovations to achieve reductions emerging in areas such as feed additives and new fertilisers. The EPA said that the use of land within agriculture could be improved to move from being a net source of emissions to a sink, as they described. This could be done through a combination of enhanced afforestation on mineral soils and rewetting of drained organic soils, according to the EPA. Recommendations for soil monitoring in the report included the need for the country to advance soil mapping and modelling through a cross-public sector approach, which would rapidly improve knowledge of soil health at a national level. In terms of water quality, then, the EPA stated that there needs to be immediate action in nitrogen pollution, especially in catchments of concern in the south and southeast, to prevent any further deterioration in the quality of our estuaries in Ireland and coastal waters. The EPA stated that until now, mitigation has been the main policy focus, but it said that there is now a need for adaptation to be used across society.
Well, we'll move on now. And as we all know, trends on bovine TB are not going in the right direction. We recently got up-to-date figures, bringing us almost to the end of last month, September. Louise, where do we stand at the moment?
Yes, Charles. So new statistics show that on a 12-month rolling basis, 5,695 herds were subject to restriction due to bovine tuberculosis or TB, compared to 4,885 in the previous 12-month period. As of September 22nd this year, when the figures were last recorded, the national herd incidence rate is 5.6% compared to 4.74% at the same time in 2023. Both regions of County Wicklow saw by far the highest herd incidence rate nationally, with 12.02% or 798 reactors in the east of the country, meaning that there was 106 herds restricted. In the west of the county then, there was an incidence rate of 16.81% or 998 reactors and 77 herds restricted. For the rest of Leinster, County Meath also had a high incidence rate at 9.27% or 2019 numbers of reactors. The regions with the highest herd incidence rate in Munster include County Cork, with the north of the county having an incidence rate of 8.28% and the south of the county at 8.5%. Ulster and Connacht regions didn't have as much numbers of reactors or herds restricted. However, the figures are still quite high there. You can see more detailed analysis and figures on Agriland.ie. Minister for Agriculture, Charlie McConalogue, said he is committed to making real progress in the area of eradicating TB. The TB programme in each county focuses on factors including wildlife, how disease is spread in the area, cleansing and disinfection, testing compliance and swift isolation and removal of reactors, and of course emphasis is placed on biosecurity measures a farmer can take to reduce risks on their farm and when buying in animals.
And just while we're on animal health, Louise, but to talk of another disease just for a moment, just this Thursday afternoon as we're recording this, Minister McConalogue has reiterated his concerns over Bluetongue virus. What's the latest update from the Minister?
So the recent update from Minister McConalogue has warned that Irish livestock are at risk from Bluetongue disease, and Minister McConalogue has reminded farmers to report any suspect cases to the department promptly. As we know, the disease has spread widely across eastern England, and the Minister has said that Bluetongue poses a major threat to Irish cattle and sheep industries, causing substantial losses to farmers and industries in countries which have experienced outbreaks. Bluetongue is a viral disease affecting cattle, sheep, goats, alpacas and other ruminants. It is spread between animals by biting midges. The Minister said that the Department of Agriculture is continuing to carry out a range of surveillance and risk-reducing activities, including increased active surveillance of higher risk animals, targeted surveillance and awareness campaigns. He reminded anyone involved in trading and transport of livestock to and from affected areas and countries to support these actions and work closely with their local regional veterinary office.
Thanks, Louise. And before we move away from the topic of animal health, there was a small but significant recent development on the international front. At a meeting of the United Nations General Assembly last month, world leaders agreed to target reductions on antimicrobial use in agriculture. This is part of a target to reduce human deaths from antimicrobial resistance by 10% by 2030. According to the political declaration adopted by the Assembly, some 4.95 million human deaths every year are associated with antimicrobial resistance. But we'll move on now to matters of agribusiness. And meat processor Kepak has announced a new investment in its Westmeath facility. Louise, can you tell us more about this?
Yes, Charles. So an investment of €8 million has been made by Kepak into its Kilbeggan facility in County Westmeath. This is to enhance market access, quality and efficiency, and according to the business, the upgrade positions in the Kilbeggan plant will act as a central hub for exporting premium quality Irish meat. The investment is part of a broader €28 million investment by Kepak across Irish sites, €8 million of which was supported through the government's capital investment scheme for the processing and marketing of agricultural products administered by Enterprise Ireland. The Kilbeggan investment of €2 million, which was advanced by the capital investment scheme program, focused on increasing capacity and establishing a more efficient and sustainable process flow at the site. Kepak Kilbeggan employs 86 people in the Midlands and west of Ireland and invests an estimated €110 million annually. Kepak's economic contribution, according to The Economy, is made up of approximately €3 million in wages, €2 million in additional support services, and €105 million in livestock purchases through the creation of jobs, use of local service providers, and support of local farmers. The company has said that the newly upgraded facility will allow Kepak to enhance production efficiency while reducing the environmental footprint. Kepak aims to cut its Scope 1 fuel consumption and Scope 2 electricity emissions by 50.4% by 2030.
Well, just while we're talking about agribusiness, there was a notable development on that score in New Zealand this week, although on the dairy side rather than the meat side. Dairy cooperative Fonterra released a new revised business strategy which it says will involve a greater focus on high-performing ingredients and food service businesses. Fonterra said that this will grow value for its farmer shareholders. That news comes as the global dairy trade, or GDT, recorded a slight increase this week. The index increased by 1.2%, reflecting an average price of €3,474 per tonne of product sold. Lactose, buttermilk powder, cheddar, and whole milk powder all performed well this week. But finally today, two important award ceremonies for farmers took place this week: the NDC Kerrygold Quality Milk Awards and the Teagasc FBD Environmental Sustainability Awards. Louise, who were the lucky winners?
Yes, Charles. So the Kennedy family from Cahir, County Tipperary, supplying Dairygold Cooperative, were announced as the overall winners of the 2024 NDC and Kerrygold Quality Milk Awards. The annual awards saw one farming family from 6 counties and 11 dairy cooperatives celebrated for excellence in milk production and sustainable dairying. Following their nomination by Dairygold, the Kennedys excelled through a comprehensive judging process that evaluated a range of the most important aspects of modern dairy farming. These topics included environmental sustainability, animal health and welfare, farm infrastructure, hygiene standards, soil and grassland management, and technical performance, amongst other important factors, including advocacy and community engagement. In addition to the overall prize, there were 5 category winners recognised for excellence in the individual areas of milk hygiene and facilities, environmental stewardship, grassland management, and low somatic cell count. These particular award winners can be seen on the Agriland website. Then on to the 2024 Teagasc FBD Environmental Sustainability Awards. Dairy farmers John and Brendan Walsh from County Tipperary have been named as the overall winners of the 2024 Teagasc or FBD Environmental Sustainability Awards. The father and son farming team were also presented with a total prize fund of €10,000 at an award ceremony. The awards aim to highlight the progress farmers are making to lighten the load of farming on the environment while continuing to produce high-quality, nutritious food in a profitable manner. The father and son overall winning team are dairy farming in Ballyluby, County Tipperary, and currently 65% of the farm contains clover, and some paddocks have received no chemical fertiliser in the last 2 years. There were 9 category awards, and prizes were awarded for 5 enterprise categories and 4 best of the categories in dairy, beef, breeding or suckler, beef, non-breeding or finishing, sheep and tillage. Again, if you want a rundown of the winners for each category, they're available on the Agriland website as well.
Thanks, Louise. And speaking of awards, the AXA National Dairy Show takes place on Friday and Saturday of next week, and Agriland will be there on the ground. So stay tuned to Agriland.ie and the Agriland app for all the coverage of this year's show. But that, I'm afraid, brings us to the end of today's podcast. Please don't forget to rate, review and follow The Farming Week on Spotify, Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. We'd love if you could spare some time to give us 5 stars and share The Farming Week with anyone you think might be interested. From Louise, Rubina and myself, all the best for the weekend.